I became an education advocate because I am a public school teacher and parent, a military veteran, and I've worked really hard in school always all my life because I came from very humble beginnings. And I've always not only pursued but taught my children that education is key. I have taught for the Department of Defense. I have taught as a TA at Mississippi State University, the states of Mississippi and Louisiana and South Carolina. And when my husband retired from the Air Force, we came back home to his home state. And was initially excited because we were moving into a school district that was acclaimed. You know, it was very big, had the best reputation, highest accolades. But as a teacher, it was almost instantaneous walking into the classroom and taking teacher training that I found very unorthodox, very unethical teaching practices. And it just all hit me right in slap in the face. I did not realize what was brewing back at home in America because we had spent over 8 years off and on being stationed overseas. And so as a parent and as a teacher, now knowing that child exploitation is taking place
in our schools
has
Yeah.
been devastating.
So you're a teacher, you start to see these things as soon as you come back. What is like the first thing you decided to do?
Well, the first thing I decided to do was advocate for my own child. And well, the administrators, the district did not like me asking questions. And it had to do with the things that, my student was learning. Also, what my middle school children at the time were undergoing at their middle school. And really, that's when the problems started. And it had to do a lot with fast forward, CRT, DEI, especially because my children are, multi-ethnic. And how dare they have, excellent grades and, they're supposed to be low potential.
When you saw that happening and you started to advocate, and then what was the next thing?
I decided that I could no longer be a part of the curriculum that was being, drafted in. I also, God just put it in my heart that things were not right. The struggle with my high school student at the time, it was just horrific. As a military veteran, you go through things, and all of it culminated into like post-traumatic, stress disorder. I had the district mark me down on my appraisals. When I turned in that I would resign, they marked me down as not hireable and that perhaps I should be teaching elementary school level when my 3 master's degrees are in higher education and in secondary education. Okay. So it started as soon as we arrived back home to America, to Texas, in 2017. And I last taught in the classroom for Leander Independent School District on May 31st, 2019, the day that my daughter graduated high school. And ever since then, I just became not an advocate for my own children, but for everyone else. And things have just gotten worse and worse as far as the sexualization of children, the violent fights, the cyberbullying, and a culture of cover-ups. That's what we're facing, and just all the financial malfeasance.
Yeah. So you've been basically digging into this stuff. You've been kind of collecting data and evidence about what's going on in schools, and then you're basically using it in. Do you present it to the school boards, or are you just mainly working with legislation to show this is what's happening?
Well, in 2019, it was the first school board meeting that I had ever attended. As a professional, as a parent, I never had to question my children's education like I did, back in 2017, 2019. So that was my first time, stepping into the world of administration, if you want to call it that. So when I didn't get answers locally, then I went to the Texas Education Agency. There I found out that there's an entire military children's compact for military connected students. So when that, um, I learned about that, I became an advocate for our military kiddos too. And doubling that with the lack and dumbing down of our kids due to the curriculum and the resources, I went to the Capitol and I started working on, you know, the CRT, but we can't say those words because
Anymore.
they're not
Yeah.
teaching CRT. And I agree with that. They're not teaching CRT to our K through 12 students. What they're doing is employing CRT practices.
Wow. A lot of people hear the word CRT or DEI, but we really don't know how does that look? Like what is some of the things that they do? Or just like one. Like
Well, for example, and I don't know if I can say this on the air, but one of the assignments that the high schoolers were receiving in their English classes were to analyze NWA's song F the Police. That's approved curriculum. They would have like DEI walks where they would ask the children to step or the students, step forward if your parent has ever been homeless, step forward if, your parent has never had a job or if your parent is a maid. And it's division of cultures. It is not just walking away from teaching them basic math, reading, science, right? History. It's a deliberate push into identity politics. And so everything is completely wrong with the DEI, and that's alive and well, even though we've had legislation this past session where we were hoping to eradicate the DEI departments in the colleges.
so one of the things that's the most pronounced, I think, for parents is when their kids start to espouse what is like victimhood mentality, where they want to have something that makes them a victim. So now you say that that's probably the norm.
That has become the norm, or at least they continue to try. And it absolutely is a lie. Every child has the potential, and they deserve equal opportunity because every kiddo that works hard and wants to achieve their American dream, they are absolutely deserving of that, especially in the United States of America. And while they try to continue normalizing that, there will be parent advocates just like myself that just will not allow that. We can't be bystanders to now the target is, kindergarten, pre elementary school children. And I know I shared a couple of things with you where some of the teachers, that's their whole agenda. And we've had school boards that have been basically, infiltrated, and just superintendents that, have a different calling rather than serving the children
Yeah.
that they're meant to.
So now your work with Moms for America, how is that helping you to kind of break through some of your things that you're trying to do?
Moms for America has been such a blessing. Kimberly Fletcher, the president, it was such an honor to serve as the first Texas director for Texas. Under her leadership, she came to our Capitol and introduced the FCC standard bill because she learned from a lot of us, a lot of families in the state, about the pedophilia instructional materials that were being distributed to our kids, which myself in particular cost me being kicked out of a school board meeting. So Kimberly attended a school board meeting with me at Leander ISD. So who does that? Kimberly Fletcher has the biggest heart, and the entire team for what they're doing, not just in the area of education, but every issue that's facing our our beautiful country right now. So we worked really hard during the 88th session, and we worked on bills, having to do anywhere from military connected students to school choice to making sure that the Reader Act and House Bill 900, would pass. And it's still a work in progress, but everything that Moms for America encompasses is what their children really need at this time.